let the words that I share today be a witness of God's love and forgiveness and presence in each of our lives. Amen.
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 For years, I always kind of thought about the prodigal son and thought, that guy, too bad he was such a loser and he's spending money on things like that, and kind of what that guy was. But then I kind of read it again the past couple of weeks and was kind of rethinking a little bit. I wonder if what he did, was it really that bad? Okay, stick with me for a second. You may be thinking, what is this? So if you stick with me for a second. Okay, if you think about it, the son goes to the father, and the son says to the father, hey, I want to go be my own self. I want to be who I am. I want to be who I am, a little bit distinct from you. You've been here for me, and you've raised me and all that stuff, but now it's time maybe for me. I want to go be my own self and kind of explore the world for myself. I don't really want to just continue to be in your shadow, and I don't want to continue to be what you just want me to be. I want to be authentic to who I am. I want to go live myself as an individuated person. Well, think about that, how difficult that kind of thing is. That must have been really tough for the son to come and say to his father, hey, look, I love you, but I got to do my own thing. I've got to be myself. I've got to live my life. I've got to be authentic. It kind of, in a way, a little bit reminds me back when I was a younger person, and I was in graduate school and stuff, and things were going pretty well, and I told my parents, I've got a job up in the Smoky Mountains, and I'm going to go live in the mountains for the summer. And I'm going to live there, and everything's going to be great. I'm going to be close to the earth and everything. And my dad was like, what? I'm like, what are you doing? And so that sounds ridiculous. I'm out living under the stars, and you're paying the bill. What's happening here? So it was kind of that kind of thing. Well, you can only imagine when I changed from Catholic to Episcopal and how that went over. But anyway, that's for another day. But the thing is to think about it, Dad. To think about how difficult individuation is. To think about how difficult it is to live authentically. How difficult it can be to not just fall into what my family wants, what my friends want, what my boss wants, what people at church want, whatever, because I feel called. God has breathed life into each and every single one of us to be who we are, to be who He created us to be. Let's not be afraid to be that. Here in this gospel, I think the Son is doing it. He's giving it a try. I'm going to go be myself. I'm going to do the best I can to just live my life as I feel like I've been created to be. Maybe that's what we're all called to do. To think about maybe what is it those things that are holding us back to live individually, and what is it are those things that are calling us to preventing us from being authentic and truly who God created us to be. And how can we take that step to go out and give it a try for authenticity? Well, the second thing that the son did was go out and spend his money outside of Israel. So apparently Israel had an Israel first policy. if money was raised in Israel, it was to be spent in Israel. And it was really considered pretty sinful and against the whole thing to go out and blow your money somewhere out in some pagan country or something like that. That's how they just viewed it. It was very much insular. So here is this guy going out and spending money elsewhere. Now, I'm not going to judge how he spent his money, but he did go out and spend it in other places. I wonder if economically, he kind of broke that sort of narrow-minded, sort of nationalistic, sort of like, I'm the one, we're the one, we're number one, all stuff, and said, I'm going to go out and invest in some other place, in some other way. Maybe in doing so, I might learn from them. Maybe they'll learn from me. Maybe I can engage in some sort of, inclusion, that I can feel like that other people are included through this economic venture that I'm engaging in. What an amazing thing that was, to say that he was investing in inclusion. That's not a popular word right now, apparently, but to think about how we are called as Christians to go out and be inclusive. I mean, think about it. Jesus' message from day one was, I'm going to include shepherds, I'm going to include kings. I'm going to include these sinners that he starts off the gospel with and these tax collectors. I'm going to include these really great people that are top of the line. I'm going to be with everybody here. His message was inclusion. And I wonder if this son is a witness of an investment in that inclusion. I think about our parish here. In 1936, some people got together and said, hey, let's be inclusive of this neighborhood. Let's do what we can to think about how can different people come and be a part of the Episcopal faith or the Christian faith that we share. And here we are in 2025 carrying on that same message of inclusion. There's all kinds of people here today. I love that there's people that have different jobs, different skills, different messages, different ways of being, and here we are all together. And we can be a real witness of that investment in inclusion. let's wear that proudly. Let's go forth and do that the best way that we can. Maybe follow in the footsteps of this prodigal son. Well, the third thing I'm thinking about is this poor guy, he was working at a very difficult job. I mean, he was caring and tending for pigs, for goodness sake. Now, his religion might have said, oh, this isn't good because you're hanging out with pigs that we consider unclean. But he was doing what he had to do to pay the bills. He was doing what he had to do to feed himself. He valued his life. He valued who he was enough to say, I'm going to just submit myself to this work that has to be done, and I'm going to do this work, and I'm going to do it to the best I can at this moment. Well, think about that. This guy trying to do the work that he's doing, I wonder if that is an awareness or sort of a witness of the dignity of work. No matter if you're working with pigs, or no matter if you're working on Wall Street, or if you're working wherever you are, to think about the value of the work that we are doing and how important that is. Our work helps co-create the world with God. He's asking us to share in this world that we live in and help building this world to make it a better place through our work. Whether it's paid work or volunteer work or work with our family or work with caring for a loved one or a work of raising children, whatever that is, or work of making beautiful music or work of serving in the altar or work of setting up and helping to keep this place going. All those are important work that we do. There's dignity and value and worth to it. Whether it's with pigs or whether it's, like I said, in some big fancy CEO office. It's important work. So I feel like hopefully we can embrace the work that we're called to do and recognize the dignity that we're called to do. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe this prodigal son really wasn't that bad. But the dad kind of thought he was. So really the point of the story is to say, I think that this dad discovered a love in his son that maybe he would never have known before if the son hadn't given it a try. If the son hadn't gone ahead and tried to explore these other paths. I think that Father discovered a love in him. You know, I wonder if the same thing is happening with God. You know, sometimes I think we think about God as being up here, kind of static, kind of unchanging, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But I think God is in a relationship with us, and that love evolves, and it kind of changes, and he sees us being who he created us to be, and that's got to have a twinkle in his eye, and kind of make me think differently about him. Well, I think about this father in the story here. I mean, it was really embarrassing for a nobleman at this time to run, because they had all these robes and stuff. So imagine him like kind of picking up his robes, you know, and running across the field there to go embrace his son. And everybody must have been laughing at that, feeling that was ridiculous. It seems kind of foolish that the father would have changed his mind so much and welcomed him back so much. But that's what God is doing for us. No matter how authentic we're trying to be, no matter how inclusive we're trying to live our life, and no matter what kind of work we do or don't do, we know that God's hiking up his robes and running after us to embrace us and care for us as he's doing right now in this Eucharistic celebration.
Amen.